Relationships often leave us questioning our worth, our choices, and even our sense of reality. But what if we could learn to recognize the red flags earlier, break the patterns that keep us stuck, and step into relationships that actually feel nourishing? So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episodes of Pleasure Principles podcast where we unravel the deeper truths behind connection, intimacy, and the human need for pleasure in many forms. I'm your host Avik, and today we are diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many people, like understanding the signs of toxic relationships and how to heal from them. So, to help us explore this, I'm joined by someone who knows the path both personally and professionally. So, please welcome Kate Mageau. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Amazing. So, Kate, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you with all the listeners. So, dear listeners, Kate is a licensed therapist, author, and unapologetic reality TV fan who uses pop culture as a lens to make tough topics feel relatable. So, after leaving her own toxic marriage, she turned her story into a mission, like helping people spot the red flags, heal, and build safer, healthier connections. So, she is the author of Rose Colored Glasses and The Healing from Toxic Relationships workbook, which is both packed with the insights and the real strategies. So, I'll not take much of your time, dear listeners. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again, Kate.
Thank you. That's such a nice introduction. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And so, Kate, like, I mean, you have spoken openly about leaving a toxic marriage, and uh, so from that perspective, like, uh, what were some of the earliest signs that you noticed that things weren't healthy, even if you didn't call them toxic at the time?
Yeah, good question. So, when I was in the relationship, which became a marriage,
Yeah.
I didn't know I didn't notice that these were toxic things, right? It wasn't until after I went and
Mm.
got help. I went to a support group that was at a domestic violence advocacy agency. I did a lot of therapy. I read so many books. I just really, really studied this. And then
Mhm.
became a therapist, studying it more, and now with my clients. So it's so not obvious until you really look at it. So I guess I just want to like put that as a caveat. Like, don't blame yourself if you're not seeing it or if you didn't see it. But little things um that I would say he my ex used to quote unquote tease me a lot. And I would kind of take it as like, oh, this is just how he jokes around. But his jokes actually were pretty harmful and hurtful. And he would just laugh it off like, "Oh, I'm just teasing you, you should have a little thicker skin, don't be so sensitive." Those kinds of things people can say and make it feel like it's just not serious, and you start to take it internally like, "Okay, maybe I just need to toughen up." But that's really a sign of someone who does not care for your feelings, doesn't recognize how they're treating you and how their words are really affecting you. And another one that's a little bit less subtle, I would say, is that, oh, and I had another thought. Sorry, I'm ADHD, so I'm gonna go back and forth, and my thought process isn't always linear. Um, and looking at the teasing to really know if it is teasing or not is how it makes you feel. Are you laughing right along? Does it feel good? Do you feel like you're in on the joke? Great, that's fine. But if you don't feel good, then that's your sign. That's your clue.
True. No, I totally agree. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, and then the second one I was gonna add, sorry,
Sure.
was that when seeing a person show any sort of violence, at all, that it doesn't have to be to a person, but it can be, they get angry and they hit the wall, or
Mm.
my ex, like, he got really upset that his laptop was starting to break down and literally stomped on it. And I was like, "Oh, that's, that's not good," but I didn't see it as a foreshadow of more violence.
Hmm. That's strange. Yeah. I mean, oh, so looking back now, like, do you think those red flags were kind of subtle, or were they always there and you just weren't ready to see them?
Um, Both, right? They were subtle and they were always there, but I didn't see them. Um, and I think it's just because I had other people in my life that had perhaps, um, done similar things, similar behaviors, so his behavior didn't seem super out of the norm for me, and I think
Okay.
that can really, really affect a person's perspective. If they're like, "Oh, well, I've seen this before," then you're more easily to forgive it, and that's not to blame anyone, it's to really remove the blame from yourself from
Mm.
not seeing the signs.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so I mean, that's
Yeah,
powerful.
sorry.
Yeah, that's really powerful because I think so many listeners will relate because those small moments that at first don't feel like the deal breakers, but over time they kind of erode the trust and the self worth. So, uh, definitely, yeah.
Mhm.
So, like a lot of people stay in the toxic dynamics, like because they keep hoping things will change. So, how do you help someone distinguish between the normal ups and downs in a relationship versus a truly toxic pattern?
Yeah, good question, and there's a couple parts in that, but I'm gonna go to your main question where how do you know the difference between it being ups and downs versus, like, this is toxic? The answer in that is the power dynamic. What does the overall power dynamic look like? In a healthy relationship, it's equal, and equal doesn't necessarily mean 50% of the housework versus 50% of the housework. It could mean, one person does, um, maybe the one person does 60 or 70% of the housework, but that person also has a little bit more free time, or the other person maybe does more driving or does more errands, right? It's like look at how overall the relationship feels in the power dynamic. When you make decisions, are you making decisions together? Does do both people always have to do things together, or can you have your own lives as well as your life together? That's another big part of it. Um, and then if it's an unhealthy dynamic, one person's making those decisions and it's feeling like you need to ask them for permission, which is different than, "Hey, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything?" versus, do you mind if I go to the store?" Feels very different. So, where the overall power dynamic lies is going to tell you whether or not it's healthy or unhealthy.
Hmm, got it. So, like when someone realizes that it's toxic, what's often the biggest mental block stopping them from leaving? What is it?
Well, the biggest part actually touches on what you mentioned a second ago about self-esteem, right? The emotional abuse,
Mm,
the quote unquote teasing, that's really actually emotional
mm,
abuse in these cases and these relationships where the power dynamics uneven. That does erode the self-esteem. And so there's just less
mm,
feeling of I don't deserve this, or there's feelings of this is just, how I have to be.
mm,
I think there's also the societal messaging of, like, tough it out, stick it with the relationships, like, um, stay we made these vows, we have to stay in the vows, and then there's also the messages where my ex would say just those things, like, "Oh, but you made a promise to me, we made vows, and, therefore you have to stay with me," and, that's not true.
mm,
It's just not, but it is a barrier depending on, where a person is culturally in society, depending on religion or family or whatever. But there's a lot of people in the world where they're told that they have to stay in the relationship. So that's another big part. Finances makes a huge part. Financial abuse is a really big aspect in all of this. Um, it's especially common in gender dynamics, but it doesn't always have to be that way because this does affect people of all genders, of all relationship styles and sexual orientations. Um, but it is very common where one person there's a stay-at-home mom, and that person is not working, and then if that person has not been working for a while, then it's really hard to go and get a job, right? So then there's not like resume history, then also the self-esteem has been worn down, and then not having that self-esteem to be able to get the financial assistance. But there are domestic violence advocacy agencies all over the world. You can always find one in your area that will help you to get on your feet, that will provide at least some sort of temporary shelter. Ideally, there's people in your life where you can go. If you are in a relationship, I think regardless, just keep some money. Like if it's healthy or not, have some money that's your own. Um, and there can be ways to, like, subtly try and, stash away your own money, like, I've known people to get cash back at the grocery store, so it doesn't look like they're taking out money, but they are, and they're hiding it, right? So, find ways to have your own, financial stability or seek out, support people in your life, friends and family, or, an advocacy agency that's gonna give you that financial support or shelter or what have you to be able to leave.
I agree. Also, like healing after leaving a toxic relationship is a journey in itself. So, what were the first few steps in your own healing that really moved the needle for you?
Yeah, great question. So oh, a few things, of course, but I would say the biggest part that was the most eye-opening was the education around how domestic violence, toxic relationships, emotional abuse, all of it, how it works. Like, what are
Mm,
these different methods of control that people are using? What are the patterns of it? There's a cycle of violence where there's, like, a distinct pattern that shows up in these unhealthy relationships. Being able to look at the way that the mechanisms actually played out to go, "Oh, that's what that is." It started reducing the shame immediately. Like, it wasn't my fault that I was in this, it wasn't my fault that I stayed in it, and these are actual patterns and things that methods that people use to have that control. So the biggest thing is learning about how it works, and then having support people around you. Hopefully that's family and friends, but there's also the isolation factor in abuse where people will take people away from those that they can lean on for support. But anyhow, people around you, family, friends, therapist, support groups, advocacy agencies, and then therapy, of course, is so, so helpful.
exactly. I totally agree. And like for someone who is listening right now and who feels completely depleted, like they have nothing left. So what's the most compassionate first step they could take? What do you suggest?
Um, like, depleted in what way do you mean?
I mean, they actually you can think of like they actually lose the hope.
Oh, like, emotionally depleted, um, I think the first step is
Mhm.
looking at yourself and finding some way that you can remember to trust yourself. and trust yourself that you can be there for yourself. And it might be so, so small. It might be, okay, I'm hungry right now. I'm going to get some food. I trust myself that I can do this for myself. I feel like I want to take a shower. Okay, I trust myself that I can do this for myself. And I have compassion if taking a shower is just too much for me right now. Um, Having that self-talk, that dialogue within yourself to find where you have the strength is really hard and really, really important, especially because when looking at these toxic relationships with uneven power dynamics, a person is taking away so many options and choices in life for another person. So it really has to start with trying to find a way to get that ability to make that choice for yourself again. And there's always some choice that you're making. It really is always like, do I start walking with my left foot or my right foot? Whatever choice, however small, rebuilding that faith in yourself that you can do that is key.
Mm, got it. Understood. And also like in your book, Rose Colored Glasses, um, you talk about the how survivors can not only leave but actually thrive. So
Yeah.
what does thriving look like after toxicity, beyond just surviving it?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thriving is beautiful. Surviving is being in it, right? And then there's the really tough healing process, and you start to see some areas where you're thriving in the healing process, and you're gonna feel a lot where it does not feel that way, and
Mm,
that's okay. And just trust in the process to the healing and the learning. And thriving is feeling confident to make those choices for yourself. I want to do this. I have a boundary on this. I want this. I don't want that. Like, thriving is having the power and freedom to make all your own choices again, and it feels so strong and beautiful and so freeing. It also feels scary at first, but that's okay. You just keep making the small decisions for yourself, and the more you trust in yourself to make those decisions, what aligns with you, you'll feel that thriving.
got it. Amazing. And is it possible? I mean, is it possible to fully trust again after the kind of betrayal, or does healing mean learning to live with scars?
Um, I'm gonna say like 95/5. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it is absolutely possible to trust again. I'm in a very healthy, beautiful relationship. I help
Mhm.
my clients. I just said goodbye to a client after working with her for 3 years, coming out of an unhealthy relationship. She's now in a really healthy relationship. I see it happen all the time as well as in my own life, through the work, right? But to trust again, to heal from it is learning the signs and learning what the psychological mechanisms were happening so you can understand it, so you're not constantly questioning it. Um, and so you can learn from it. And learning the signs is also how you can feel confident in dating again and feeling trust again, is
Right.
going, okay, well, now I see it. And that's not what I want. And that is what I want. Yeah. All the education.
Got it. And like, so this might sounds contradictory, but actually not. Like, uh, another pushback I hear is like, but leaving isn't always the answer. Like, people can change. So, do you believe toxic relationship can ever be repaired?
No, that's my answer is no. But I'll expand, because I don't mean that to sound harsh, but I do mean it to sound harsh, like on purpose.
Uh-huh.
Um, because truly the answer is likely no.
Mm,
If a person is wondering if it can change, one, you need to look at, does the person want to change? That's the hugest thing because in an uneven power dynamic, one person's making all the decisions, the other person's doing all the stuff for them. They're living a cushy life. They often don't want that to change. They want to continue having their power and more power. Second, you want to look at if you bring it up to them, are they open to change?
Correct.
Right? And oftentimes, no, that maybe they are. And there are places, where people can go for treatment. However, the statistical information is that when a person who has been abusive goes for treatment, they just learn more about how to be abusive more covertly. Most really do not rehabilitate.
Hmm. Got it. So, for our listeners who might still be kind of wearing their own rose colored glasses, so
Mhm.
what's one simple question they can ask themselves today to get clearer on whether their relationship is truly, truly healthy or not?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a powerful question. Um, am I happy?
Hmm.
Does this feel equal? Does this feel safe? Do I feel safe? Emotionally safe, physically safe? Do I feel free to make my own choices?
Hmm.
Yeah, it all comes down to how a person feels.
Hmm. Got it. Understood. Yeah. Lovely. So, Kate, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom, your story, and your warmth to this conversation because I know, like, so many people listening today will walk away with a new lens for
Mhm.
spotting the red flags and um, a little more courage to choose themselves.
Oh, thank you. I really hope so. And you can get all of the education I'm talking about in rose-colored glasses. It is my story. It took me 8 years to write it because it was a very powerful story. And then I went back, the last part of the writing journey was going back to it and explaining what was happening through my therapist's professional lens. So after every chapter, the therapist lens says, "Hey, this is what happened." So you're really, really understanding it. I do also have a workbook if you prefer that learning method. It's the Healing from Toxic Relationship workbook available on Amazon. And oh, rose colored glasses is available everywhere and Amazon, and it will be on Kindle Unlimited when it releases October 2nd. And I also have a self-paced course on my website where a person can watch the videos, along with the workbook is most helpful. You can watch the videos and learn about it. So, whatever your learning preference, there's a way for you to find healing.
Mm, I agree. Totally agree. Yep. Lovely. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the details into the show notes for your easy reference. And remember that relationships should feel like a safe harbor and not a kind of battlefield. So, healing is possible, and you deserve love that feels like freedom. So,
Mm.
until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep honoring your pleasure principles. So, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This was lovely.